it's Jack. So, in today's video, I want to cover something that I think affects a lot of sales professionals because I definitely went through it myself. If you go back to my initial video, very early on in my sales career, and even whenever I kind of, got more experience and kind of got more success behind myself, I still found myself running into these periods where it was almost as if, I had lost my touch. I felt like I had lost my ability to successfully run a sales call and actually close deals. And after a lot of self reflection and really going into the inner game side of sales, what I realized was it was really an issue with myself more than anything else, right? Because typically what happens whenever somebody goes into a sales slump is they start to look externally. They blame the leads, they blame the product, they blame the time of year, seasonality. The list goes on and on. But the common theme here is that it's all external focused. When really what's going on is it's an issue internally. Whether there's some frustration there or more likely than not, as I've kind of delved into it over the years, what I really think it comes down to is there's an issue with the self image. That's really what it always comes back to. Is taking inventory of your self image. So that kind of leads me then to you know, you're probably wondering the same thing. How do you actually get out of a sales slump, right? Because there's nothing more frustrating and demotivating when you kind of run into this period, right? Because as a sales professional, you're either 100% commission or a lot of your money and financial success is dependent on you closing deals, right? So it's one of these things where you know the faster that you can get out of it, the better. In terms of how to actually get out of it, then, so the first thing that has really helped me over the years is to actually revisit past successes. Okay, so it's really taking a step back, even taking a day off if you need to, and actually collecting a list of recordings, physical recordings if you have them, and excuse me, really choking. Actually revisiting some past recordings. So that's why I always recommend that you record all of your sales calls so that you have the ability to not only look back on the ones that you didn't close, but what can be even more valuable is actually looking back at your wins to really reinforce the fact that you've done this before, you know what you're doing, and you're capable of closing sales. So that's really where I would start. I would revisit your best sales calls and watch them start to finish to really just you know reprogram yourself and remind yourself that you're able for this. You have the ability to close deals. Now, alongside that, and this is something you can do in tandem, or it's something that I would recommend you would do if you didn't have the recordings for any chance, or maybe you're just getting going in your sales career, is to actually go into the theater of your mind. Okay, so as I've kind of alluded to in earlier videos, it really comes down to harnessing the power of your subconscious mind, because a lot of these problems and successes are again down to your self-image. So the subconscious mind doesn't actually know the difference between reality and an imagined experience. So you can harness this ability and actually close your eyes, use your imagination, excuse me, to actually visualize yourself having a successful sales call. And that can be you reliving a sales call that you've had in the past, or that can be you visualizing in the future yourself actually conducting a successful sales call. And this is just as powerful, if not more powerful, than actually watching back the physical recording, right? Because again, the subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between a real experience and an experience that you've imagined. And this is used by many professionals very successfully, whether it's world class athletes, trial lawyers, you name it. Any profession can benefit from this. But in the context of sales, where it's a performance driven role, there's few things that are more powerful than harnessing the power of the subconscious mind. Going into the theater of your mind and visualizing that sales call going exactly how you want it to go. And I would do that for, I would get into a practice of doing it anyway, but I would I'd commit to doing it for, you know, 7 days just to start. And I think if you do these two things, along with maybe taking some time off to take a step back, you're 80% of the way there, honestly. Now, the other thing that's just coming to mind as well that really helped me over the years was detachment, right? So I think typically what happens and what happened to me is, whenever I kind of found myself getting into a sales slump, I became very outcome oriented, very outcome focused. And anyone who's sold for any, length of time knows that if you're very attached to the outcome, that's going to come across on the call. And it's going to come across needy, it can come across desperate, and the prospect's going to feel that. And nothing kills sales more than bringing that kind of energy to the call. But it's kind of a double edged sword, right? Because especially if you're 100% commission based, which is, kind of how I was selling more recently. If you don't close that call, you're not getting paid, So there's a lot of pressure in terms of that environment. So it kind of leads to the question then of, how can you actually detach from the outcome, given the fact that, technically you're in a position where you need to close a deal to make money. It's a difficult position to be in. But really what I found best to work for myself over the years is really to just be completely focused on the process and on the prospect. Okay? If you can do that, fully externally focused, obviously taking care of the internal state with step 1 and 2. But once you've taken care of that, it's really just being brutally focused on the prospect and seeing how you can help them. Being completely selfless on that sales call and just forgetting about yourself, forgetting about the money. And that kind of leads into one of my final points is, realizing that it doesn't actually matter in the end. Donald Trump, love him or hate him, he's got a fantastic video on this about how to handle pressure, because that's one of the most important things in sales is to be able to handle that pressure in order to, stay calm when there's high stakes involved and there's a large deal on the line. And just, telling yourself before the call, it doesn't matter. Okay, maybe you lose the deal. You get another one. Really hammering home that point that it just does not matter can be a great pressure reliever. And, having that ability to just let go, detach, and just telling yourself it does not matter. There's plenty of deals to be had. And if you can really embody that frame of it just doesn't matter, you're going to have a lot less stress going into the call and you're going to be able to stay a lot calmer. And that's probably how I want to wrap it up as well, is, relaxing. And this kind of ties in with what I've just said. The process of relaxing, as I've learned, is, if you try and relax your mind, it's very hard to kind of calm that chatter, especially if a few minutes before a sales call. But if you focus on relaxing the body, the mind will relax. So if you release your shoulders, do a quick scan of your body, just visualize yourself just letting go. that in turn relaxes the mind. You know, a lot of people don't know this. They try and calm their mind, but that just creates more chatter, and it can be very destructive. But if you just drop your shoulders, let go, relax the body, the mind will relax. Okay, so the body and mind are very interconnected. And yeah, I think if you really take these points on board, and I'll just summarize them now. You know, step one, really take inventory of great sales calls that you've done in the past. Uh, you know, physically rewatching them, but also rewatching them in the theater of your mind. Realizing that it doesn't matter at the end of the day. There's plenty of opportunities out there, and if you lose a few deals, so what? Learning to relax the mind by relaxing the body, and I think those were the main points really. I'm just trying to think if I missed anything. Oh yeah, and brutal detachment from the outcome and laser beam focus on seeing if you can help the prospect solve their problem. If you incorporate those few things, I guarantee that it's just a matter of time before you get out of the sales slump. And that, to be fair, the only other point that I wanted to mention is to take massive action, right? Like during periods where, um, you know, I was experiencing a sales slump. Of course, I did all of these things, and the best place to start is always internally. You know, you are the greatest variable on all of your sales calls. Um, but once you've taken care of the internal, taking massive action is a great way to just get out of that slump, right? You know, it's um, it's like in professional sports, right? You know, the best way to kind of you know get out of a slump in sports is to get back on the pitch. You know, get back in the game. And if it's in sales, that can be doing a lot of outbound prospecting. You know, there was times where maybe the calendar was a bit quiet and there was a lack of leads coming through, so I would just spend the day just hammering the phones. You know, doing massive outputs, and that can help you. That can help reinforce a sense of control and confidence, which is then going to carry into those sales calls once your calendar starts to fill up again. And yeah, just along with all these other things. So that's really the last point that I wanted to say. I can definitely empathize with anyone who's going through a sales slump, because there's nothing more frustrating and disheartening. But just know that if you do these few things, success is inevitable. It's just a matter of time until you get back in your rhythm, you get back in your flow. And yeah, just understanding that's completely normal to experience these things. But you just want to really limit how long you stay in these slumps and just get out of them as fast as possible, and get back in your rhythm. So yeah, that's really it from for today's video. As always, if you found the video helpful, I'm going to be releasing more content in my free school community. I'm going to drop the link below. It's free for the time being. I do plan to potentially monetize it in the future. So yeah, if you want to join, feel free to hit the link below. That's all for today's video. I will see you in the next one.